The old man raised his gun and aimed it at me, but he didn't pull the trigger. Instead, he forced me to take off my clothes one by one. My mind went completely blank. Then he casually pointed in one direction and signaled me to keep walking. After only a few steps, my body started to give out. The only response behind me was the sound of a gunshot. I kept my mouth shut. Barefoot, I walked step by step across the barren wasteland. Behind me, I could hear his laughter. I understood very quickly. He wanted the desert sun to slowly wear me down. What he didn't know was that every step I took looked random, but in fact, every step was calculated. When he finally raised his binoculars, I suddenly sped up and sprinted in one direction. He looked a little surprised, but he didn't care. The next second, he suddenly froze. I leapt forward and disappeared into the desert. Relying on faint memories from many years ago, I found the hidden entrance. I moved the stones aside and quickly crawled inside. Just as I was about to kick the support beam, I heard the sound of an engine outside. He was coming. I used all my strength and kicked hard. The support beam snapped right away. Before the dust even settled, he had already noticed something wrong. He stood outside holding his gun. What he didn't know was that deeper in the cave there was another path. This cave was left behind by my grandfather. I twisted open my canteen, but there wasn't a single drop. Luckily, I found a pair of shoes. I looked down at my feet. They were already covered in wounds. I clenched my teeth and put the shoes on. Then I kept moving forward. On the cave wall, I saw a supply map. It was left behind when my grandfather worked as a guide. The moment I understood the route, a shadow appeared at the entrance. I stuffed the map into my waistband. Then I quickly hid. He walked into the cave with his gun in hand. I quietly slipped into a narrow crack in the wall. The stone door closed softly, but in the end he still noticed me. He pretended not to see anything. Then he lit the powder and threw it into the cave. I rushed out trying to stomp out the fire, but the flames only grew stronger. I turned around and ran as fast as I could. Just as I reached the exit, the cave collapsed behind me. I survived. He stood in the distance quietly watching me. He didn't kill me. Instead, he forced me to take off my shoes again and keep walking. He wanted to see how long I could last. After I walked farther away, I took out the map. Following the route, I found the second cave. Inside, there was only a broken sofa. I tore off the leather, then I wrapped my injured feet. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. He was pushing me to keep moving forward. I had no choice but to crawl out of the cave. Only after he saw me come out did he slowly relax. Not long after, I reached the next marked point and opened the box. Inside, there were only a few steel pellets and a slingshot. My heart sank. I couldn't understand why my grandfather would leave something like this. Dragging my exhausted body, I moved toward the final point. I started digging in the sand. Soon a bucket appeared. I pulled it up. The smell of water almost drove me mad. I looked around. No one was there. I rushed up the slope and raised the bucket. Just as I was about to drink, a bullet flew in and struck the bucket. Water instantly splashed across the sand. The bucket was completely ruined. I stood there without saying a word. Covered in wounds, I kept walking. The burning sun cut across my skin like a blade. Before long, my body finally gave out. I collapsed onto the sand. Finally, the old man lost his patience. He slowly raised his sniper rifle and aimed at me once again.